thanks so much for joining me today. I am so happy you're here with me for a brand new Studio Monday post. This week I'm going to be featuring our new Simon Says Stamp Spring Special Edition card kit. And I really think this is a fun kit that will help you create some really cute things such as spring cards, shaker cards, sliders, which is what I'm going to be doing today. There's a bunch of really cool products in this kit. So bear in mind that the kit has sold out as of when I am posting this video, but you can buy all of the items that are included in the kit individually. So if you're interested in any of the products that I used, you can go ahead and check them out in the video description below or over on the Simon Says Stamp blog. So for my card, I'm going to be using the really cute Railroad Train Track Slider die. I'm also going to be using these adorable stickers from Doodlebug's Easter Express sticker pack. I'm going to be using the train down along the bottom there to create my slider card. These are really cute stickers, but because I want to turn these into a slider card, I'm going to need to go ahead and attach them to something so I can go ahead and have the train be pulled across my slider. I'm going to use transparency sheets here, but you can use any type of cardstock or paper that you want to use behind these bunny stickers. If I was going to do this over again, I actually would have doubled up on the transparency sheet because I actually could have used it to be a little bit thicker. So if I were to do this again, I either probably would have used cardstock or doubled up on the transparency. I like the look of the transparency because it's clear. So like I said, I probably would have used the double layer of the transparency. Now the card kit comes with this adorable train track slider. And I think it's really fun to be able to use this to create sliders. And I'm going to show you how I went ahead and used this to build mine. So I'm going to go ahead and line this up onto a long piece of paper here. And I'm going to lay the die down on the paper and align a cutting plate all the way to almost the very edge of the die. But I don't want to cut it all the way because I want this to be partially die cut so that I can realign the die onto my paper and die cut it again to make it extra long. You'll feel this die slip into the tracks of the original cut out area. So as I go ahead and lay this down, you'll feel it kind of lock into place, and then I'll be able to lay my cutting plate back on top to go ahead and run it through my machine again. Now you'll notice that I'm using a smaller cutting plate, and I just find this is easy to use when I'm doing partial die cutting. This is a smaller cutting plate from Sizzix. So here's a look at how that die cut ends up turning out with the really cute partial die cutting that creates this fun extra long slider track. I'm going to use some double-sided adhesive to start building my slider area that my coin is going to be able to fit inside of to make my train slide across this entire card. I'm making a double layer of foam tape to make sure that the coin will be able to slide back and forth very easily. For the coin, I'm going to end up using a dime because I felt that the dime was slightly smaller and hid behind the little cars of the train easier. I placed a piece of Nina Desert Storm cardstock behind the slider track so that way the coin would stay inside, and I added a couple pieces of foam tape to the coin so that way I'll be able to attach the train on top of that. Here I'm building a pull tab that I can use to pull my train across the slider die. I found this was the easiest way to get my train to go across the slider track because it's got the bumpiness to it, and because this train is longer, and I wanted it to be able to go across the card evenly. So the pull tab is going to help me be able to do that. So I basically just cut a little thin strip of cardstock that I'm going to add some adhesive to. I created a button using one of those little egg stickers from the Easter Express sticker pack, and I cut it from a little button die that was part of the Simon Says Stamp Springtime Bunny plush dies. I'll go ahead and attach this to the back side of my train, press it down good, and then I'll be able to use this to pull my train across my slider. And this is really cute. I think this is so much fun to be able to build sliders like this and have a little area that can make the element slide across the card and give something for the recipient to have a little bit more fun and interactive element to the card. I ended up showing this to my sister, who is a toddler, and she just loved it. So this is also fun for kids as well. Now I want to go ahead and build a scene with this slider, so I'm going to take some of the papers from the Easter Express pack from the card kit, and I'm going to choose this green piece here that has the bunnies on it. That's going to be the grass from my card. I'm going to die cut it using the Grassy Hill border dies from My Favorite Things, and I've decided to use this really cute sloped one. This one's one of my favorites of all the dies that are in that set. So I'll go ahead and run this through my Big Shot machine twice. I'll cut two pieces, and I'm going to use my ink duster brushes and some Jelly Bean ink from Simon Says Stamp to go ahead and tint these papers because I want them to be more green instead of having the white bunnies. I want the bunnies to have a tint of green to them so they blend in better and they're not quite as distracting. So after I've applied the ink and I added a little bit darker ink towards the top to also give the grass some definition, I'll attach them onto my card and then trim off the excess using some Tim Holtz shears. The Tim Holtz shears are my favorite types of scissors to use for trimming things off of my cards that are hanging over the edge because the blades are so long. I attached my little train onto the slider. I used 3 layers of foam tape to be able to attach the train onto the coin that's in the slider track. So now that I have my slider all built, I'm going to start creating the rest of the elements for my card. In the card kit, you get the sea glass metallic envelope, and I'm going to be actually using this envelope as the paper for my clouds. To cut the clouds for my scene, I'm going to be using the Happy Days die set. This actually coordinates with the Happy Days stamp set that we have, but I wanted just the cloud shape, so I'm going to go ahead and use the dies because a lot of the shapes in those dies can be used by themselves. I cut a few extras from some white cardstock, and I'm going to layer one of the white pieces behind each of the blue clouds. And then I'm going to use a single layer of the white clouds and add those behind each of the blue clouds, so it creates a fun layered effect and it makes the sky look a little bit more filled in. I didn't want to put a full color across the entire sky. I knew I was going to be adding a lot of other colors to this particular scene, so I wanted to make sure that the sky was a little bit more neutral and wasn't quite as distracting. So I'm going to go ahead and now create a sun using one of the stickers from that same sticker pack, and I put it onto a piece of acetate and I cut it out, and I'm going to be putting that onto my sky. I'm also using some of the little flower and carrot stickers that are part of the card kit, and I'm going to attach the carrots actually onto some white cardstock and fussy cut those out to create little die cut looking pieces. And that's because I want them to have a little bit of separation as I add them into my grass. I felt that by themselves they didn't stand out quite as easily as I wanted them to. So by having a white border around them, that helps them have a little bit of separation off of the grass and the rest of the scene and just gives them a little bit more dimension. I attached them down onto my card using some liquid glue, and you can see how my scene is really coming together and creating this fun, cute card. This card is a little bit larger than a normal A2 size card. The final measurements are about 4 by 7, so it would fit in a letter-sized envelope perfectly. I'm going to pop the entire scene up off of a card base that I cut from the sea glass cardstock that's included in the kit. I'm using a couple layers of foam tape on the areas that are around the slider portion because, again, remember, we put 2 layers of foam tape on the slider area, so we need to make sure that the rest of the card has that same 2-layer dimension. I'll go ahead and attach that down onto my card base. So for my sentiment, I'm going to be using the little stamp set that's included in the kit, and I chose the sentiment, "Somebody Loves You." I'm going to stamp this down onto a piece of sunshine cardstock from Simon Says Stamp, and I'll heat emboss this with some white embossing powder from Ranger. Because the sentiment is so small, I'm using superfine detail embossing powder. I actually use the superfine detail embossing powder for almost everything that I do for heat embossing, simply because I like the detail that it gives. I find that the heat embossing is much smoother when I use the fine detail. I'm going to trim this down using my Tonic mini trimmer. This is the Tim Holtz mini trimmer. And you can see I create this little label shape, and I'll go ahead and pop that up off of my card. And then for some embellishing, I'm using some Nuvo crystal drops and adding that to the centers of each of the flowers. I used colors that coordinated with all of the colors that I have in this scene so that everything is tied together really nicely. I even added it to the cheeks of the bunnies and the little chick that are inside the train. And then I also used some white Nuvo drops and added that to the center button areas of our little pull tab, and that just finishes off nicely. So that was a fun look at how you can use the contents of your new Simon Says Stamp Spring Special Edition kit. And again, for those of you that were not able to get the kit, you can get most of the products that were included in the kit separately, and I'll have them linked in the video description or over on the Simon Says Stamp blog, so you can go ahead and check those out. And also before I go, I want to mention that each month, every time we come out with a new card kit, we have a gallery over on the Simon Says Stamp blog so that you can upload inspiration that you have created using the kit, or you can find inspiration from other designers that have used products from the kit. So it's a really fun area to go check out over on the blog, and I'll have a link to that in the video description as well, or you can find it on the Simon Says Stamp blog. So I hope this has inspired you today. Thanks so much for visiting me, and I will see you again next week. Thanks for watching!